Howdy McDude YouTube, I hope you are doing well. My name is Marcus Benedict. If you don't already know me, what part of the world are you from? Because I am from down under. That's probably why you don't know me. I am from New Zealand, but actually at the moment I made a little tour. I made a little bit of a navigation system and I ended up somehow in Australia. And I'm not exactly going to tell you whereabouts I am in Australia, but I am going to tell you that I am the happiest man in the world, and this is what this fucking video is about. I don't really care about anything else except happiness, right? I don't care about even pleasure, believe it or not. And no, pleasure is not part of happiness, all right? Pleasure is not part of happiness. Well-being isn't part of happiness. Welfare isn't part of happiness. You know what else isn't part of happiness? You aren't part of happiness, because happiness is right here. You get what I'm saying? You get where the happiness is coming from right now? That's why you're not part of happiness, because happiness can't come from you. It can only come from me. Now, this is going to get a little bit confusing, because what if you're you and not me, and I'm not you, but you're you and you're not me? And you can see how it could go like me, you, me. But whoever the me is out of the you and me, then, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the science of happiness. So, if you haven't already seen the Science of Happiness video, then you probably should watch the Science of Happiness video. If you're me, but not me, but if you're you, then I'm not going to say that you're you, but you're not me. But I'm sorry, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Let me slow down a little bit for you, YouTube. You see, my 0 list of subscribers is really important to me, and I just wanted you all to know that all 0 of you are making me really happy. You know why? Honestly, you know why? Because the truth is that nothingness is happiness, and that's what the secret is that no one really gets, because everyone is multiplying by 1,000,000. They're trying to times, they're trying to plus. They never want to be subtracted. They never want to be subtracted. Write that down to that big fat 0. They don't want to be subtracted down to nothing. They don't want to be subtracted down to 0. But let me tell you something. Being subjected down to 0 is perhaps the best thing that could ever happen to you. Perhaps it's the best experience that you could have. Think about it. The experience of nothing. The experience of nothing, right? Now, what do meditators do? What of these? It doesn't really matter what religious or spiritual tradition you come from. In Islam, there's a sort of a Sufi branch that are very mystical branch. In Christianity, there's other branches like the Desert Fathers and other mystics and apophatic theologians. And in Buddhism, there's like monks. Heard of that stuff, YouTube? Yeah. And what do they all have in common? Same thing within Hinduism. Whether you're talking about your guru or your monks, it doesn't really matter. What do they all have in common, mates? What do they all have in common? Happiness! No. That's not what they all have in common. I can't believe you fell for that. Let me tell you what they all have in common, alright? I'm going to tell you what they all have in common. What they all have in common is nothing. A big fat N. A big fat 0. A big wide 0. A big no, naught, nada, nothing. They have nothing in common. They have nothing in common. Absolutely nothing. Because absolutely nothing, absolute nothingness is the secret to happiness. It's not multiplying. It's not adding. It's not even subtracting. Although subtracting may be able to take you on a faster path to happiness than, multiplying or adding. Because as we can see, what's happening in the real world out there is that people who become rich, people who are successful millionaires or even billionaires, often become miserable. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, we all know that they're not the most happiest mofos in the world, are they? They're not the most happiest mofos in the world. You could call them content, some of them. Content. But what does content mean? Content. What does that mean? I was content while I was depressed with the sort of lifestyle I was carrying out. The very common lifestyle of just the blob kind of lifestyle where you just have no energy to do anything. You have no spark. You have no inspiration. You have no motivation, no ambition, no drive. But you just go through the motions every day anyway. And so that's contentment. People, and they get stuck and they get caught up in their comfort zone, and they get really stuck. They get really caught up in their comfort zone. But that's not happiness. Being comfortable, even living in higher quality comfort, and having that content doesn't entail happiness. In fact, often you can be content and you can be miserable. A lot of content people, a lot of comfortable people are also the most miserable people. So that's why I say that sometimes subtracting is a faster path to happiness than multiplying and adding. Because think about it, everyone, especially if you're a Westerner or in the West, everyone is adding, everyone is multiplying, everyone. And yet, how many of those people who are adding and multiplying are genuinely happy as the person, as the mystic monk? Whether you're a Sufi, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Jain, it doesn't really matter. Those people have one thing in common. That is that they have nothing in common. The thing that they have in common is no thing. They're able to take what's in here and subtract it until they're just experiencing no thing. There are no more things plopping up and down. There are no things firing away. There's no activity. There's just nothing. And you could even say that's where that sound comes from. Pure nothingness. So what you're doing, if you're able to do this, if you're able to unlock this navigation, is you're experiencing experience itself. And that is one of the big secrets that holds Westerners, skeptics, cynics, secularists, rationalists, philosophers, all the categories of people in the West who are just under this constant spell of thinking and using thought as this absolute system of propositional truth, and then navigating the system. And people get so caught up in that, and people identify with it very strongly to the point where they're not even able to distinguish it from anything else. It just is them. The thought is them. But those monks, those spiritual mystics I was talking about, they've given up on all of that. It's over. And you know why it's over? Because as the incels say, it never began. And no, we're not talking about looks. We're talking about our lives. We're talking about our happiness, our well-being. It never began. It never really began for a lot of us. A lot of us, it never really began. Anyway, this is my first video. I am going to make a lot of videos about the science of happiness. Science of happiness. A lot of the science of the happiness is connected to meditation. So you better watch these frickin' videos, frick it. Alright, anyway, my name is Marcus Benedict. If you don't already know me, I am a sheep from New Zealand. I'm a Kiwi from New Zealand. We frickin' love sheep down here, so sometimes it becomes synonymous. with our own nationality, our own names even. And that is my first video, and I'd like you to hit the ring bell button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you don't really like this video, then frick you, because you're not happy enough to give me a like, oh my god, and you're not happy enough to just subscribe and be all cool with it, man. I mean, chill, peace, whatever. Like, if you don't like it, then frick off. I mean, bye. Whoop.